Okay. All right, we'll get going then. Can we scrunch, everyone? Tell everyone to scrunch. I was in the council chambers in Lexington, Ohio, earlier this week for a project meeting, and theirs was so small, which was nice. It was very cozy. Like, everyone was like, they still had like 5 or 6 council people. I mean, there's quite a few in this smaller space. Okay. All right, it is September 18th at 1:30. This is the Finance and Economic Development Committee meeting. I'd like to call to order. You roll call, please.
Barrow?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Pufferberger?
Yes. Okay. Looking at the agenda that was posted and sent out. So the first item on that is compensation consideration for acting water supervisor. Who would like to?
Yeah, so our current supervisor is out on medical leave, and our assistant supervisor, he is essentially assuming the roles of the supervisor, and we felt that it was necessary to, I guess, accommodate him for it while the current supervisor is out.
And how long of a leave is it?
At least
Do we know?
until January,
Okay, so quite a bit,
yeah.
the time, okay.
They're already kind of short-staffed, so he's double dutying it over there.
Okay,
And I put on the detailed agenda, like an estimated time frame. We can certainly adjust that as
Okay.
needed too.
okay, so that has more details.
Yeah, did you have it,
Uh,
the detailed one?
oh, yeah, I had a different order. Oh, okay, gotcha, sorry.
Sorry, I just finished it at like 4 o'clock yesterday. I apologize.
Until January.
So there's a recommendation for a wage as well. So a start date, an end date, and a wage. And then how to address any payouts that he will have some payouts in February.
Okay. And is this like, when in the process does Dustin get involved in, like, talks about it, or he's just kind of, it'd be nice to have something in compensation with the extra work, like you two
Yeah, so
came
I've
up
had
with?
conversations with him.
Okay,
And he's done this a couple of different times now.
Okay.
But he was unable to get anywhere prior to me coming aboard. But I think, given the amount of work that he's carrying, I think
sure.
to me, it seems fair.
Yeah, and we've got a start time and end time, so he'll be aware of that. So like his essentially, like his pay amount will change during that period.
Yep.
And then switch back to like the regular amount he usually gets. Is that how it will work?
Correct.
Okay.
It looks fine.
Yeah. Josh, did you have anything?
Are there any wage changes to the current supervisor?
No.
He's off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is he kind of assuming what he makes now? Is that? Or-
No, they're both at top step in different ranges. So
Okay.
we kind of approached it based on his experience here and what he's making and,
Okay. Yeah, to come to that number. Okay.
yep.
You have any? Good?
That's good.
Okay, so do we need to make a recommendation or to council to approve it? Yes? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve that, or? I guess-
Sure, I'd move that we go forward and recommend a council of compensation for Dustin in the pay period and within the time parameter set forth.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Barrow?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Pufferberger?
Yes. Okay, so thank you for that. So second item on the agenda is to review and make recommendations for Chapter 103. And this was something that was discussed at the last finance meeting. And we were given some time to circle back around and have discussions, ask questions, give input, right,
Would you-
for this conversation now.
Would you mind if we, sorry, I was like Margot Puffenberger, like, I don't know what to call you, sorry.
That's all right.
I was like, chairwoman.
Margot's
Anyways,
fine.
Excuse me. Would you mind if we move, if we talk about the water sewer licensure, like, quickly?
Oh,
Because I feel like chapter 103 is going to be a longer conversation.
sure.
And then, like, the 26 payroll, it would, I don't know, would you mind? if we
No,
talk
I
about those
actually
first?
had that thought before we started,
Oh,
so
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Is everyone else okay with that adjustment?
That's how I was hoping to be too.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Yeah, we have time restraints with Josh's schedule. So, okay, let's skip to number 3, or you said you wanted to skip to number 4.
Just if we can talk about those two items, the 2026 payroll and then the water sewer licensure before we talked about.
Okay, so that's the main thing. So I'll just jump to number 3.
Okay.
So this is concerning 27 pays in 2026. So there's typically 26. So we need to kind of address this for salaried people is what?
Yes. So I've outlined the financial impact of a 27th pay. And so we typically have 26 pays in a year, and the way the calendar falls in 2026, and then in particular, the bank holiday, we have to move that forward, that pay date to 12/31 of 26, which makes 27 pays hit in 2026. So for hourly people, it's not a big deal. They would just get paid as normal. But for salaried individuals, the salary is an annual salary. So the choice is, we have a couple choices, which I've outlined here. We divide their annual wage into 27. So that would be a decrease in their biweekly pay to them, but the same annual amount.
Right.
Or we can authorize, the council authorize a 27th pay, but in order to accommodate the increased expenditure of a 27th pay, my thought was to forego any raises in 2026 to offset that. Financially, it'll be a net cost to the city of $57,000. The employee would receive that 27th pay, and if you compare what their raise would be compared to a 27th pay, it would be more lucrative for the 27th pay, which is why there's an additional cost to the city. So that was my thought to sort of control the expenditure there. That is just management and directors, because administrative is considered like hourly, so they would get paid regardless.
I know this probably can't be the first time that this has happened in the past, so what was the process that they used last time this happened?
I'm not sure what the city had done in the past, but traditionally, employers authorize that 27th pay.
Could we
Yeah.
possibly go back in the records and find out what they did, though?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like 6, 7 years ago, it's
Yeah.
just the way the calendar falls, so. But I just wanted to touch back to the how the pay date ends in 26. If we don't move it to 12/31, then they're not getting paid until January 4th, which is a Monday, which is 4 days after they're typically paid, which could be a problem. And then in 27, we would have 27 pays anyway, so I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, I mean, I can look to see what we've done in the past.
So Jennifer, you said, what would the expenditure be to the city? You're talking about an extra pay period, right?
Extra pay.
That was,
For management and directors, it'd be 133,000, I think is what I have here.
and then how about the rest of that?
Sorry, with PERS and Medicare, it's 155,000
Yeah.
is the total cost. So my recommendation was to eliminate the raise to reduce that extra cost, but the employee would still benefit. So I know people hear eliminate raise and they get really upset, but in the end, it's more beneficial to the employee for that, to eliminate a raise and authorize a 27th pay. So you asked about the other people. So there's only about 5 people in the administrative ordinance, or excuse, yeah, the administrative support ordinance. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I meant for the entire, isn't this for the entire city, or all the 140
No,
plus?
I mean, so I did speak to our employment attorney about the unions and the way that's worded, and they'll get that 27th pay regardless.
So it says, who does this impact salaried employees? So there's 31 in total.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that what you're,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it is,
Yeah.
that, it's literally just impacting those individuals in the management ordinance and the director's ordinance, which is a total of 31 people.
Okay, so the choice is skip the pay increase, and this extra pay period smooths, it evens it out, rather.
It is more beneficial to the employee to give them that 27th pay.
This
and
year.
And then it, in 26, and then it reduces the,
Oh, 26.
the total expenditure for the city compared to a raise. So the net impact would be 57,000.
Is that something we're allowed to do, Alan?
There wouldn't be any prohibition against it. You know, it's nothing
Okay,
that we would have to modify otherwise.
okay, I didn't know if by ordinance they had to have that pay increase expected.
We would have to modify that, yes. We'd have to modify it and then authorize an additional biweekly pay period for those individuals, the 27th pay.
so modify that raise doesn't happen that year?
Yes, because it's in the ordinance now.
Okay.
So that would need to be done before the end of the year, before
Okay.
that first pay of the year is done.
So those are the choices.
I mean, there's lots of choices, but that's what I've outlined. The other choice would be to give them a raise and 27th pay, which I wouldn't be in support of because of the financial impact. You could do no raises and
Yeah, I agree with
just
that.
allocate them amongst 26 pays rather than 27.
Well, so, I mean, with that 27th pay, is it, and maybe this isn't the right way to describe it, so this is what I'm thinking, so I want to clarify whether that's right or not. Is it kind of like a bonus? And that it's like a chunk, it's like an extra thing, or no?
No, I wouldn't call it a bonus. It's just the timing of the pay dates and
Yeah.
how it hits in the year. So their W-2, instead of, 80,000 would be 83,000, for example, or whatever that depends out to be. It would literally be an extra paycheck. But
Okay. Whereas like a bonus, then that hits different with like tax wise. Because I'm just thinking like, I know like when my husband was in education, it was like you could get like a chunk amount for something. Say if you coached, or you could get it like put across multiple checks and there was a different kind of tax implication or
No,
whatever.
No, it would be a normal paycheck because like I said, with everybody else, hourly individuals,
Mm-hmm.
members of union, part-time, they're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, regardless of how that pay date falls. It's just
Yeah.
how it's worded for those salaried individuals. It's worded as an annual salary.
Would it be different? Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. I know there's a couple people that want to say something. I just wanted to kind of finish a thought. You said like if the year we decided to do the 27 pays and then evenly kind of divide it out over those 27 pays, it would be a little less of a check, which
Correct.
I don't know how your guys' kind of thoughts on that, but that can be pretty impactful when people kind of plan on the same pay each.
Right.
Like it seems like it,
Yeah, here's our budget, and all of a sudden,
yeah, like for a whole year to kind of that adjustment, I could see that being kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
do we have, what kind of a time window is on this?
The decision would just need to be made by the end of the year before
Okay.
that first pay starts, so in December.
And this affects about 31 people, you said?
Yeah.
yeah.
Could we put feelers out there and see?
So the feeler would be asked if they would want a raise, but a reduced paycheck
Yeah.
over 27.
Yeah, I would be interested in getting some feedback. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's affecting,
Yeah,
People have
they're every
budgets
day to
and they-
day, right.
Yeah. So for everybody, it would be more beneficial for them to have a 27th pay instead of a raise. I did calculate
right.
the
Yeah,
contribution
yeah.
for everybody. but-
And so that we would just kind of put clearly out there
Yeah,
to like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and make sure to
I like that
communicate
idea.
that to the 31 individuals and see if they have questions, and I can
yes.
show them their exact calculation.
Because their input, especially, it's like, that's pretty important, right?
Yeah,
To make
'cause
that.
I understand people are going to hear no raises and that's. all they're gonna
Yeah.
hear. Yeah.
Or like see the reduced amount for that whole year. I mean, there's a lot of.
Yeah.
But, so there's a couple, I saw Dave and Dave. Which one? Dave was first, Dave Ross was first. Oh, can you come up to the podium? I'm sorry, we're recording, so we need the sound.
I do want to point out that some entities approve wages by a bi-weekly amount to avoid this conversation. Just something to think about in the future.
Well, because I feel like in the past, like when I've been salaried, I've maybe, like, you had a chunk where you just didn't get a pay. Like, you went 3 weeks between the next check, and you had to kind of,
Yeah,
Well,
that's an
that-
option too,
sorry.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what just kind of a point of clarification, because I did both salary and hourly at the Zoo.
Yeah.
We avoided it with the salary people because we got paid twice a month, whereas our hourly people were getting paid every other week. So like you were just saying, Margot, we'd go 18 days sometimes between paychecks, so we could avoid something like.
right.
So I didn't know, if.
So you would be on like a 24 pay
Yes,
year.
no matter what, yeah, we have just
Yeah.
always been on 24 pay, so that was all, so.
Thank you. Dave, did you want to say something then too? So is that something we could consider, and then that would would that need to be adjusted like in an ordinance?
A 24th pay or a bi?
The bi-weekly, so we don't have this in the future. Like Josh was wondering what we did in the past, like,
Yeah, we can certainly,
I mean, we still have to solve this, right, for now, but then,
yeah.
okay.
I guess my question was, what happens in 27 then, when you
There-
go back to the 26?
It'll be, yeah, back to 26 pays, back to their normal annual. So the discussion is authorizing that 27th pay,
Right.
basically, or not. Yeah,
So
but if we,
27
go ahead.
I guess in 27, people have gotten this extra money in place of their raise, and then, or in 26, and then in 27, would it be higher raises so that they still keep bumping
So it
up?
wouldn't be, so it'd
That's-
only be
that's all.
extra like on an annual basis. But basically, everybody's biweekly pay would be the same as they're getting now, is the option. So there would be no change, but they would get a 27th pay. So annually, it would be that 27th pay more.
So if we switched it to the twice a month pay that Dave was talking about, or the certain, you said 24 pays? We would still have to solve this before any switch to something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I think
I
maybe
don't
that
think, I think the 24 pays would cause more trouble than we're trying to solve. here.
Oh, because that would change things for,
It'd be, well, it'd be a different payroll cycle.
yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
And then,
You'll leave
people
that.
are getting paid on the 1st and the 15th or whatever.
Right.
So I'm not a fan of that. Thank you, Dave, but I'm not a fan.
Understandably.
I'm going to send my payroll person after you.
Well, that makes sense, yeah. I didn't think about then everything, okay,
Like,
that
she'll
makes sense.
never be able to go on vacation either.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
Just kind of going off of what Dave P. was talking about. Right now, we have a schedule of raises, right? It's 2 or 3% each year.
Yeah.
So for 2026, we are talking about eliminating that 2% raise, but they still get the money essentially, right? Right.
No raise for 2027, I thought, and they got the chunk and the extra pay.
No raise for 26.
Okay,
Yeah, so
sorry.
no raise for
makes more
2026,
sense.
but it's essentially a backdoor raise because they're going to get
An
that
extra
27.
pay.
So when we go to 2027, are they going to make up that raise amount, or is it just going to go up another 2% from their 2025 salary? That was my question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
And we would have to run that scenario. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, because would there be long-term implications? Would there be long-term implications? Like, so the short term,
I would suspect some people would be concerned about the differential between union members and management then, because it's going to narrow.
Okay.
Even more, it's going to narrow.
okay. Yeah, I think getting the feedback is really important.
Yeah.
So we can do that and then circle back. So what do we think in timeframe wise we do?
Yeah, I can send that out to those employees that are impacted. And I don't know, next couple of days I can send that out. And
Okay.
So I think I'll pose it more of like, this is the scenario, like thoughts, question, you know, I mean,
Okay.
is how I'll pose the question.
Okay. See if they need to have a conversation about it or, okay.
Yeah.
What does everyone think about
Yeah.
that? Does it
Yeah,
sound
yeah,
good?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
Josh? Yep, okay.
Okay.
So that is number 27. Okay, so we'll skip down to service director. The item under management ordinance to receive stipends for wastewater and wastewater licenses. Recommended prorated amount approximately $3,750. That's what I have.
Yeah, it changed just a little bit, 3,173, and I allocated that based on the number of weeks that he was in that position. So
Okay.
it was in the management ordinance that he received that additional stipend for his licensures, and it's not in the director's ordinance. So we're not proposing to add it to the director's ordinance, but we're just proposing to give him an allocated amount of that stipend that he earned basically most of the year.
Okay,
And then to be paid out in February like it normally would have been. So
Okay.
The prorated amount is 3,173, and this is one time only.
I was just gonna say, is there any future kind of, so just this time to kind of, okay. Okay, I mean, that seems pretty straightforward. Gabe or Josh, do you have any
Nope.
thoughts or questions?
Thank you.
No? Okay, great. That was easy peasy. Oh, yes, we need a motion to approve that to send to council?
Yep.
Yes, okay. I can do that one. I'd
Go
like to
ahead.
make a motion to approve, under the management ordinance for the service director to receive stipends for water and wastewater licenses for the recommended amount that the finance director has provided us with.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Barrow,
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Pufferberger.
yes, thank you. I would. You. So jumping back to the 27 pays topic, when do you think we should meet again, I guess? Try to get another meeting in to talk about it after we get impact. Do you just want to kind of keep us up to date
Sure, yeah.
sometime in the next like month? Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so last but not least, review and recommendations of chapter 103. So.
I would actually like to add a little amendment. Alan pointed this out.
Okay,
Under 10304F, there's a paragraph in there that says, under no circumstances shall any employee of the city authorize work to be performed on private property. We should add a parentheses, except sewer laterals,
okay.
or something to that effect.
Say that last part again, Jennifer?
Oh, for,
We should add a section that says except sewer laterals.
so G on that one?
Yeah.
Is that, okay?
Yeah. I mean, we can expand that a little bit, but
Okay,
And I would have an issue with putting that paragraph in there to begin with, the way it's worded, because it would void a contract if work is done, and there's many times, I think Matt could address it too, that damage is done to whether sprinkler systems, curbs, driveways, other things that need to be repaired, lawns. This would mean that the contractor would, their contract would be terminated because of having to do repair work on private property.
Yeah, I think,
There's other situations that have come up.
right, I think the point of this is basically so that we're not adding private work to a project because we're simply there doing concrete work for, a larger project that would be, added to, I guess, the quantities, and then somehow, I think that was kind of the
yes, it was
thought behind it, right?
specifically due to some sidewalk work that our contractors had been authorized to do that work. We're supposed to bill the resident, and then I didn't know about it till 2 years later. So I just think it opens us up to, thank goodness that person that spoke up was honest, But it just opens us up to that sort of break in communication of what's being done by our contractors, what's getting billed and paid by us, and then what the finance office is supposed to bill the individual resident for work. That's why that came up.
Well, is this also too, to make sure that the work that does need done on the private property gets done once the public project is done? Or, I guess I see it that way too, but you're saying that that wouldn't work if there's something like broken that needs fixed on the private property and then,
Or if you have to wait till the end of the project to fix their sprinkler system.
Right, if I was a homeowner and the city caused damage to my property, this says we can't touch it, but we have it until everything's done and completed, come back to council and talk about it. We have ordinance resolution, I think it's the right one I picked out, 025-2022, where the city of Maumee engages in many construction projects, repair projects. Well, it gives us the authority to do that now. Did I have the right one, Alan?
Right.
So
That's a lateral one that was just passed recently.
No, is it from
this is
2022?
2022.
That it allows the expenditure of public funds to purchase materials, personal, in personal property and repair, improve, or replace sidewalks, fences, structures, driveways, yards, other personal property, and to restore property to its pre-loss condition or better, or pre-loss function or better during projects in which real or personal property may be damaged or removed.
And I think, as you said, Jennifer, it happened once that you'd found out that this happened.
Well, yeah, there was several
As an example.
incidents where it was specifically having to do with sidewalks and driveways, where our contractors did the work because they were on site, they were authorized to do that work, and it was never communicated to the finance office. So my concern is the resident had, thousands of dollars worth of work done, which is their responsibility, not the general public's responsibility.
Correct.
And it was paid for, though, with public dollars. The communication was broken to me in my department of this even happening. So if I am responsible for collecting all receipts due to the,
Right.
owed to the city, how can I do that properly if I'm not aware of that? And the only reason the one in particular came up is the gentleman said something like, hey, I never got the bill from like 2 years prior.
Sure.
So that's what I'm trying to address here. So however we need to word that, I understand projects happen and like a lawn needs restored or whatever, but this was a standalone, hey, can you guys pay my driveway too? Sure.
yeah, I was gonna say, that's the difference
Yeah.
I'm hearing. Like,
Agreed.
They're talking about
I think we're
things
talking
being
about two different
broke by the city
Right.
and it needing repaired. Jennifer's talking about the contractor providing concrete work for a resident that was in the same area as the project, and the cost somehow getting lumped in with the city's cost, the city finance people not knowing about it, it getting paid, and then, but the resident was supposed to be responsible for the pay of that job.
Yes.
Can that be clarified then, Alan? Because
Yes.
if, like I said, if this happens today, tomorrow, and we pass this, and the guys wait forever for them to finish the project first, then come back, it's like, how, do we want to do that to our residents when we already had something in place? I understand what you're saying. So I think the communication with the contractors, maybe when they come to sign up to do work, it clearly defined that you will not do private work while you're there during the city business.
Or if they do, that they can have a separate contract with the homeowner, so.
Totally separate contract.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Because
So
that
That's
actually
possible
opens
to
up,
do, though.
Yeah.
because that opens up a potential for for the contractor to bill the resident and then bill us and for the same work. And it opens up a possibility for fraud. And so I don't think the city should be involved at all with stuff like that, with private work like that, like sidewalks, like driveways. And I'm
Well,
sure
like
there's other
you said, a separate
examples.
contract, and
But if we tore out their sidewalk and we're just going to have to wait and have them get a separate permit and do all that, is that
Well,
what would
this
work,
is-
Matt?
No, so if we tore it out, we would replace it.
right.
What she's talking about is, a homeowner came out and said, look, you guys are here,
Yeah.
and I would like to have this part of my driveway replaced. can you add that to your work? I think that's the difference
exactly
here.
it,
Yes.
Thank you.
If we damage it with a project, then we are on the hook to replace it, no matter where it falls. We try and
Yes.
stay outside the right, or inside the right of way, but clearly, there's work that gets really close to the edge of the right of way. And that's always been the city's policy. If we damage something, we will restore it back to existing condition or better.
But this
that-
doesn't specify it that way, that's what.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I think it
Yeah.
needs to be tweaked a little
Reworded.
bit and reworded. Yes,
Yes.
I agree.
Alan,
So,
would you work on that, please?
yes, how could we accomplish what kind of has been discussed in a different way that's more clear with
Yeah.
that change, right? So what we're thinking?
Yes.
Josh, did you have any input on that?
Not on this one right here.
No, not this one? Okay. How do you guys want to do this? Do you want to kind of go through it?
Sure.
And go item by item, starting on the first page, or did anyone else want to bring anything else up before that? All right, well, I'm going to make executive decision. We're going to go through it, starting the
Yeah.
first page. So does anyone have any comments or thoughts on any part of the first page of the proposed ordinance?
Yeah, on B, just 2 paragraphs down. The amount, the last sentence of the second paragraph on B.
Wait, is it what section
I'm
number
sorry.
and
Oh.
stuff is it under? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry,
We're back at page
page
one.
1, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Page 1's fine with me.
Page one's fine, okay.
Yeah.
Any, page one?
Yeah, I just got something under 10301C.
Yes.
Down in the second to last line, such rules and regulations shall not be in conflict with the comma or. There's something missing there.
Yeah, in conflict with the, is it missing, or do we take out the comma or and it's just with the charter?
I'll look at that and see what,
Look at that,
there
okay.
was something that was in there that got taken out.
Okay,
Assume it probably said Ohio Revised Code at some point, maybe.
maybe. Okay. So Alan, you will review that. Okay. Is that it for page one? Yes, okay. So page two?
Page 2, thank you.
Yes. Is that
under-
what you wanted?
Yeah. Yeah, on 10303 on B, the last sentence, it speaks to the amount, the provisions shall not apply to contracts or agreements for the purchase or supplies of the city in amounts less than the, and we have $75,000 there for a threshold.
Yeah, that got
And that was
crossed
strike-
out.
That was, yeah, that's struck out. I think we
Yeah.
should keep that there and just visit this annually. I think we should have an amount there instead of no amount.
So what I really like about this change is that I feel like it's replicating what we've done a lot of with the cleanup that Alan has kind of brought to our attention over the past few years, and that we're trying to make everything align with ORC. So like my note was whether we should mention the amount described in ORC 103 or 10 in our ORC, or is this just referring to a later thing?
No, it refers to the.
The later part?
section, and then ORC 9.17, which Ohio Revised Code, they increased their competitive bidding threshold to $77,250. And then instead of a flat dollar amount that it was, like it used to be like $25,000, then $50,000, then $75,000, they've built in like an inflationary increase of 3% every year. So that's what it is. It's just referring to that.
Okay, so it's referring to then later on where it says, the amount ORC. So my question with that is, okay, so we're just noting the increase to the amount that happened in 2025, and then the 3% annual increase thereafter. So I guess my question is, why do we put with a 3% annual increase thereafter if ORC says that? Does it not say,
It doesn't specifically state, I read it, it says up to. So I think that's
Okay.
kind of the key word, is you don't have to do it to the maximum that they're allowing you.
right?
And that's why I kind of agree with Mr. Barrow over there that I'd like to see more of a number. I think it needs to be looked at every year, because, I mean, I did an allocation table of what happens throughout time, and I think in 2030 alone, that jumps up to like 97,000, and then eventually it doubles in like 2050, from 75 to 150.
So,
So
but that's,
I think we're kind of making it for the future, but like forcing this to go up, continue to go up, but I'd like to actually I think we would like to take a yearly look at this and just see if it needs to be increased.
So how often does ORC look at things?
Whenever they want.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Whenever they feel like it?
Right.
Like maybe might have intentions of every year and then it happens year 5?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll look at this again for a while. Like I said, it was flat amount for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So they just put that percentage increase, maybe in 24, I think it was 24 to 25 was the first bump. I like a flat amount just because it's like, oh, then you got to calculate it, every year,
Right.
like Josh just said.
And I think, 75 seems to be a good number right now. I don't know that, things have gone up, but that seems to work pretty well as a cutoff point.
Right.
See,
Yeah, I'm
Right
fine with
now.
that. So it says for the previous calendar year, increased by 3% as determined and published by the Director of Commerce. So, yeah, that's what ORC 9.17 says. So
So-
yes, it could be, I guess, negotiated every year.
So Matt, I don't know what your thoughts are if 75 works.
I
It's
think
within
so.
range of what we need to do.
Yeah, for a long time, it was 50 or under, so I think the 75 gives us a little more wiggle room for now. I think it's,
So,
And like I said, we can visit that every year.
yeah, once again, I just like that it goes back to what ORC has, and then we can also revisit it. Just so we don't end up, so we just have to make sure who's going to be in charge of making sure we revisit every year, I guess.
That's part of
is-
the problem.
right.
Yeah, that's what I like
Some
about,
odd dollar amount, like you're.
We don't have to
70s.
revisit every year. We can revisit it as needed.
well,
We start
so,
seeing a bunch of problems with some of the
I'm
bids that
sure
we
Matt
come
would
in.
come to like, hey, we have a
Right.
problem.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is like, that's what I like about when ORC is referenced. If it changes, ours changes. If we don't end up seeing it, like checking back on it every year or every 2 years or whatever, and it does increase, ours essentially increases, right? If it refers to ORC and we don't have an amount.
ORC has a percentage increase right now.
Yeah.
So it would keep going up.
Right.
We're saying just leave it fixed.
Yeah.
And
If it gets
I think fixed works.
Well, I think if it gets to a point where it's unreasonable, like you said, we can revisit
Right.
it, but maybe we need to
Right.
get rid of with a 3% annual increase, or just say
Yeah.
per ORC.
Then don't you get into
You don't even
it?
need
That's,
ORC.
that's an increase though, every year into
Yeah,
the
you don't even
ORC.
need to reference
Yeah.
RC.
Well, I feel like the state of Ohio has a lot of, engineers and attorneys and procurement specialists that look at that dollar amount, and they have a lot more time than we all do to see what a reasonable competitive bidding amount would be.
Well, the nice thing is we're a charter and, a charter. We can, within our charter, do our own thing. You don't have to.
Oh, right, and
Yeah, of course, yeah.
there's no reason we have to go to ORC. It's just, I do like the argument that has been presented to us in the past few years about updating things, so we do reference ORC
Sure.
to kind of align with them, so our ordinances then essentially automatically update according to what someone else has already put the work in to do, I guess. But Alan, you're saying that ORC, it has that 3% increase. So if we don't feel comfortable with the 3% increase every year, then we're putting ourselves into that situation because ORC is recommending it if we reference that,
Then if you don't revisit it every year, it
Right.
goes up.
right?
So
Is
I'm
that
comfortable and Matt's comfortable with it, and that's really who we should.
Right. Yeah.
the 75 flat, no ORC reference?
I think it's easier and
Okay.
cleaner.
Okay. Yep. So this needs change then, the verbiage for, or just not change, that edit omitted?
Well, I think we should still refer to one place with the dollar amount. So it
Right.
B refers to 103.04, so if you want to just change that to a flat amount, so.
I
Could
think
say
in
not to exceed.
10304 before it did indicate that it could be reviewed at one point, so if I remember right.
Well, I think it's a given that all these can be reviewed annually,
Yeah.
right?
So I guess what will be the edit that needs made? You've got it noted to know, and you'll get it figured out? Okay. So, anything else on page 2?
No.
No? Okay. You're jumping ahead, Gabe.
No, it's just-
You look very antsy.
I'm not.
Did someone? Oh, Phil. He knows.
I think this may apply to the same section. So what we're just talking about in that section had to do with the limit, the dollar limit that a contract could be signed?
No, the competitive bidding threshold.
Oh, that was strictly for bidding?
Correct.
Okay, my comments have
Oh,
nothing to
yeah,
do with the bidding
sorry.
one.
Yep, contract
Non-bidding.
provisions.
Thank you,
Okay.
Bill.
Later on? Okay. So now we're on page 3. Well, so this might be a little easier. So page 3, we're still under 103.04. We're 103.03 contract provisions, and then we also have 103.04 competitive bidding on page 3, if that helps at all. So, which we talked about the new G, which Alan's going to look at rewriting, correct?
F, you mean,
No, G.
G.
or G?
I have
Okay,
as
yeah.
G. Yeah.
And then put above that in 7 also.
Yes,
is,
so
as-
there's something 7, was it D2?
Or 7 at the end of 7, it says as described in chapter 107 was added. The one I have, I don't know if
Yes.
that's still in that version. So
Yes.
that 107 chapter is really like if we had a flash flood or something like that, that gives the mayor certain powers. But council currently has the power also to, make emergency purchases. And the question is whether that would eliminate that provision, like we had the situation with the police department needing air conditioning.
The way I read that chapter 107, the police building would have been covered in that. And why I put this in here is the authority for council to determine anything as an emergency. We had a situation last year where it was paving a parking lot. And that wasn't an emergency, that was just impatience. So those are the kind of things that I want to avoid for lack of competitive bidding. I think it, again, opens us up to some fraud potential if we're eliminating competitive bidding for things like that, when we have a pretty extensive emergency chapter already described.
So having it say as an emergency purchase, in general, it allows it to be a little vague, whereas if you include as described in chapter 107, it gives more details
Yes.
to, okay.
Well, Alan, you said 107 speaks about the mayor's powers, emergency powers, right?
Right.
But council also has emergency powers. And what was your concern? Your concern that
My
it
concern
wasn't-
that the emergency or any other circumstance that was written in this chapter 103 was used to determine that, like a parking lot was an emergency to pave, and it wasn't.
Okay.
So when you eliminate competitive bidding, you eliminate the option, or you increase the potential for fraud and mischievous things happening.
Is there only more than the one circumstance that you can remember that happened?
I believe it was referenced for the police building, but I believe it's covered that as an emergency under chapter 107. So I just think that statement of general blanket or whenever it's recommended to council that it is an emergency to avoid competitive bidding is a bad idea.
I think under 107, doesn't the mayor have to declare like a state of emergency?
I don't know, it's been a while since I've looked at this, but I can pull it up real quickly.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to, my phone does not allow for that. Yes. Phone is not conducive to looking at. So is that 107? So there's a lot of things under 107: curfew, penalty, emergency procurements. It's 107.06. Emergency defined. I'm trying to look at Chapter 107, public emergency. Anyone?
I vaguely remember the issue with the parking lot, and I have to believe we're probably in the middle of a project. I don't know if you can speak to that, Matt. Probably in the middle of a project, and
No, actually, the vendor that was approved for under that competitive waiver, didn't end up working out. It ended up being a different vendor, but there was no reason that I had to go for emergency. It was a standalone parking lot, right, Matt?
Yeah, are you referring to the Rolf Park? Yeah.
Yeah, so under 107, it has to be a declaration of emergency, state of emergency by the mayor, and I think the last time that happened was COVID.
yeah.
So I feel a little more comfortable modifying 107 to give the authority, not requiring a declaration of emergency then, rather than putting it as a blanket emergency under Chapter 103.
So the mayor would have the power to make the purchase, and I'm just trying to figure out how to word it.
I think the mayor or council, and it doesn't have to be a declaration of emergency, or unless you want to declare the police building an emergency to replace the air conditioning. But buildings are under there, under Chapter 107. I just don't feel comfortable with it, a blanket statement in Chapter 103.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we have another area that gives more kind of detailed information, because that was something that, like when, it seems like you could have some sort of like events or whatever, stipulations on, what equates to an emergency, because it's very vague. I mean, whether it's us referring back to Chapter 107 or including some stipulations under an emergency purchase, or like, does it make sense to include in there who can decide it's an emergency? Like, what is an emergency?
I think last time it was a recommendation to council to determine that emergency. So I think the definition of what an emergency is would make more sense.
Okay.
Well, how are you going to define the definition of an emergency until it happens?
Well,
It's
I mean,
defined already in Chapter 107.
What's that?
It's defined in Chapter 107. It's the authority that is, I think what Alan is addressing, the mayor determining a state of emergency, and that would make sense for the police building, for example, or the parking lot, to avoid competitive bidding.
yeah, see, 107.02 is public emergency defined. 107.03, declaration of state of emergency. 107.04, mayor's power during emergency.
And that's limited, though, as to what he can spend, even if he declares a state of emergency. It's like $100,000 that the mayor could spend during a state of emergency. So that wouldn't have covered the
Yeah, the
air
police,
conditioning.
yeah.
It would not have.
No.
Well, so I see it making sense having some sort of more detail to go along with this emergency purchase, whether it's listing stipulations or looking at whether 107 truly does fit the bill of what we want to happen or not to happen. Can
we just put lack of planning or impatient is not an emergency? Because that's really what I want. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Well, you referred to the police department a few times, that was an emergency, and we did have a competitive, did not have the competitive bidding because there was one unit, it was well
I
priced,
actually agree with that.
under market.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree
And-
with that.
And it was in the midst of the summer, and if we hadn't gotten that done at that exact point in time, we would, and that unit was sold, we would have had to wait between 38 and 40-some weeks for that to happen.
Well, so you just stated various stipulations that, in my opinion,
Yeah, exactly
decides
right.
whether if it's an emergency or not. So
Absolutely.
I feel like if we can decide on some stipulations,
Why
if,
can't council decide when the situation comes up? We just
Yeah.
have a meeting and make a determination.
Yeah. I don't
okay,
think-
so
I don't
that
think-
should
yeah.
get added to the end of that. So instead of as described in chapter 107,
Yeah, I think you can't define what the emergency is. There's just too many, until it comes, okay, if it's the middle of the winter and your air conditioner's out, whatever, okay, we can wait, we can price it, we can shop it.
so council can decide pending
That's a good idea.
recommendations of
Council.
staff, key staff.
No,
I
it'd
mean-
just be a general, as determined by council, you know.
Okay. Okay. It's a little bit more description. Okay. So then there's a change, there's a couple changes in 103.04. Any thoughts or proposed changes?
Part of that's just the percentage again.
Yeah, I would just,
Fix.
Okay, so that adjustment again.
yeah, I would just say do that throughout, where they've struck out that $75,000, just,
Sure. Okay.
Alan, in 10304B2, and also in 3, it states advertisement on the City of Maumee website for minimum A period. That's supposed to be for a minimum period?
Yes, there was a reason for
Well,
that.
the minimum was added, but I know in the past,
Yeah.
Matt, you can address this too, that there is some type of work that we can use a shorter period of time and still get bids. And then there's also times when longer bidding process works better for the city instead of restricting it to 4 weeks.
Right. I think, I mean, for the majority of the year with council having biweekly meetings, I think that the 2 weeks should fit. I don't see any reason, unless it's an emergency. I think that would be obviously the caveat to that. But for a typical project, I don't see any reason that we wouldn't be able to have 2 weeks of advertisement at a minimum.
So keeping the minimum of 2 weeks, but maybe not having a maximum? Is that?
So I spoke to Matt Miles, like I said, this has been an ongoing conversation for a while now. Spoke with Mr. Griggs and Matt Miles as well about this. Matt Miles recommended a maximum, because I didn't actually have that in there initially, because, again, it's been a little while. There was some sort of a concern if it's open-ended or if it's longer, then, I don't know. It was some sort of concern that he has experienced with bidding out projects, but that was why the maximum was put in there.
Yeah, I think it's an ORC thing, actually. By the time you start the bid, you only have so many weeks to, like, sell the bid or choose a bidder.
So you're supposed to only take a certain amount of time?
Correct.
Okay.
so what would your preference be, Matt?
Or does it make sense to, if it is an ORC thing, like it refers to that? I know I keep going to that. I like consistency.
We can set our own bidding requirements again.
We can. I mean, I have no issue with the minimum 2 weeks and not more than 4 weeks. I think that's something that Matt and I have tried to stick to for the most part for our projects. And I think if it's something that needs less time than 2 weeks, then I would say it's going to probably be an emergency.
So I see the language struck out of that is, or more of such additional time as deemed necessary by the city administrator for not less than 1 week.
Is there any point that you can put it out there for at least 2 weeks, up to 4 weeks? It comes back if no one has bid, and then you put it out there again?
You'd have to re-advertise.
Right.
Right.
So you re-advertise, which should then essentially bump it up to then, in hopes, get more responses for bids?
Yeah, they've
I
done that
mean,
before.
so we could re-advertise.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a very, I've never had that happen before, but I'm sure it is possible. And the only reason that you wouldn't get bids would be that the engineer's estimate's way too low.
Okay.
So what's the advantage of taking out the administrator looking at this and deciding to extend it or shorten the time up? Or if more of such additional time is deemed necessary by the city administrator?
It's
for
just,
not-
Gabe, it's just because if we go past 4 weeks, we'll just, we'll re-advertise again. That's all.
Okay.
But we could change the administrator, like public service director or something like that, if there is that type of project that you want a longer bidding period.
Right.
Well, I think we should have somebody in that department to be able to be more fluid with that.
Well, won't that happen
Necessary.
anyways? I mean, if no one has bid, which you said you've not seen it usually happen, is that what?
Not typically. I mean,
So,
we've had it where we've only gotten one bid.
so at that point, when the 4 weeks is up and it's done, whoever said person is will then make that decision to advertise again? I mean, because we don't, who's supposed to be making the decision to advertise in the first place? I would assume that would be the same person that then is making the decision to advertise again?
That's correct.
So why do we need to put in, I guess, who? If it changes, whoever it is that advertised it in the first place would then re-advertise it. That's how I'm seeing. Once again, I feel like we're pigeonholing ourselves into this specific person. If we
Well, I think the head
mention
of the-
someone,
Maybe the head of the department, not, like, I don't know if Casey does that part of the job, but I don't think it should be up to Casey. Well, that didn't work out, I'll do it again. I think she has to have,
Casey's like, don't give me another job.
I think it goes without saying, honestly, like, it doesn't need to be, or is deemed necessary, because if you don't get a bid, it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to re-advertise the bid, right? Because the job was necessary to begin with. No, those are my thoughts. Do you have a thought one way or another, Josh or Gabe,
nope, I'm good with that, whatever.
with the change? Okay, what Matt, Jennifer are recommending? Okay. So we're moving on to, what page, I'm now I miscount, I lost count. 1, 2, 3, page 4. So it's 103.04 competitive bidding. We're still looking at that section. So there's something with the 75,000, so that'll,
Just
we'll get changed
remain.
that back to including that.
Yes, with the dollar amount, right.
Uh-huh,
And it's 10305A.
yes.
Says at the first regularly scheduled city council meeting. Is that saying only on the first of the month?
No. the
No,
intention
each
was
month.
First regularly scheduled council meeting.
So essentially, like the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Right, so we couldn't do anything on the second scheduled.
No, that, so,
It's just reporting it.
yeah, is the first necessary? Could we say
That's my-
on the next regularly scheduled city council meeting? I think that's what, you're getting confused as to whether it's, since ours are the first and third Mondays of the month, whether this indeed means it can only happen on the first
On the
Monday of
first
the
one,
month?
yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah, that
Well-
makes sense.
The thought here was, this is just reporting to council what contracts the city administrator approved. like,
Oh, okay.
Under the authorization already. So it's just, it would be like a P and C item. But before, it didn't say when. So then you had a case where 2 years' worth of contract, change orders were presented all at once. So because it doesn't specify when they're going to be provided.
So essentially, if change orders happen,
Change orders or contracts, it's just keeping council informed.
so then the first meeting of the month would be the time that normally gets kind of like an update of that, is how I'm
Basically a
hearing.
monthly update.
So what's the
What's that?
penalty,
Basically a
though?
monthly update.
Yes.
So what happens if it's not provided? Is the auditor going to say there's a problem then, or?
It's just stating a preference, is that,
It's just communication. Then there will be many months, I would assume, that
There's
nothing's
none.
provided. And then it would just be reference, P and C, no contracts to report. So
No,
then
but I
it's-
mean, what if they forget to report it?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible, but this is just about communication and keeping council informed, and my position as well, because I don't always see those contracts.
well, or like I see it as written in black and white here, anyone who is in a position that they know they need to give information that is an update that will qualify for this. They know they need to have it for the next first council meeting, is kind of like a checklist or direction for people, new people coming in, or, I don't know, I guess not everyone's going to be jumping into this ordinance and reading. I don't know.
I mean, and there could be discussion too, does council want to see every, $1,000 contract signed? Probably not. So I don't know what that threshold or looks like, but some are.
Well, they'd have to under this, though.
That's right. Well, it's for
Every
discussion though, right?
Purchase of paper, supplies, everything would
Well, every
go
time a
before
contract
council.
was signed right now, yes, it's from 0 to 75,000, right? Or even more if that's the case of a professional services. So that's why I'm saying it's a conversation.
Right. Whether it makes sense or not.
Well, what the dollar amount is.
Yeah,
Do you
like
wanna-
what's the minimum?
Yeah, what should be communicated? Every signed contract above 25,000 that didn't go to council? It's a question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of supply stuff that comes through that
Well,
says
supplies aren't,
any
yeah, supplies aren't going to be a contract.
contracts, leases, and agreements, so.
Those are annual lease agreements,
Yeah.
oftentimes.
Because right now it says all those words anyways, but it's just when is it reported to council? That's the only change. It doesn't say when it's reported.
Right, because it was vague before, so you could essentially, 3 years later, report it to council and it checks the box.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm hearing is that that's not what is wanted for the future, which is usually why a change is requested. So if we don't want 3 years later to get it presented to us to check the box, what makes sense? Is it establishing a minimum dollar amount? That, so we're not getting every paper
Well, I
order?
don't think we need to look at buying staple contracts of paper and supplies and,
Yeah, I saw this more as like change orders.
Yeah, you
like,
would never sign a contract to buy paper.
Right, that's,
It's an agreement, though, of some sort, because it says it's not just contracts, leases, and agreements involving the furnishing of equipment, services, supplies, and materials for the city. That's just about everything that we do, purchase-wise.
I disagree, because I think unless you're calling an invoice an agreement, we're just purchasing supplies.
well,
The
that
way
has
it's
to be
worded, it's pretty
clarified.
broad.
So this would, well, I didn't change the wording. It's just about when that's reported. So I suppose you could go back and then everything would be in a violation then if it was never reported to council, right?
is it?
So it's for the construction of public improvements, right?
So where,
It also says for operations of the city of Maumee, so, right.
yeah. So you have the want. Where does it make sense to put that it doesn't then involve verification of paper ordering?
Not just paper ordering, everything.
Everything. Well, that's my,
Our $20 million budget, or $22 million budget. That's what it means. Am I wrong, Alan? If I am, don't say it out loud.
am I wrong? Don't admit it though.
If that's the interpretation, then I guess it's been done all along then, wrong all along. Because this is for contracts.
I was going to say,
Large
it says to execute and enter into contracts. So I think this would only apply to a
To
contractual
a contract.
agreement, right?
Contracts, leases, and agreements involving the furnishing of equipment, services, and supplies, or for payments deemed necessary by the city administrator for operations of the city of Maumee.
So we need to clarify that.
Yeah, I
And-
think the whole thing needs clarified.
And right now, we don't have a city administrator, so nobody has to report, so.
Well, so
Right.
for the construction of public improvements for the city, no paper
You
is
have to
used for
read that.
construction.
So the last sentence, or for
Or
payments
for
deemed
payment deemed
necessary.
necessary for operations of the city.
Okay,
So that sentence needs to go away then.
okay. So,
So in the conversation, I could see a reporting, but I don't think I don't think every month we need to see that, or once in the beginning of the first meeting of the month.
I would like to see those, because I'm not seeing all the contracts, at least in the recent past. So in the past, the municipal clerk was given all the contracts to scan in. So made sure everybody was on the same page, and hasn't been done recently. So that's why rules,
Well,
regulations.
I don't have any problem with you getting all the contracts and reading through them. I mean, for receiving them and logging and noting rather.
Well, we need a place to funnel them, but it's also informing council of what's being spent.
No, I understand that. I'm all in favor of that, but I don't know how often we need that. Like it can go 3 months, 6 months and have a report, maybe at the,
So that would be cumbersome, I would imagine, like 12 months worth of contracts to be presented. Like I said, the bulk of this paragraph wasn't changed. The only thing that was the recommended changes is when, because there's never a time frame of when the contracts were to be reported.
okay. Phil, you had something, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you, Gabe.
At least on this particular issue, I mean, a couple things that might help is just knowing what kind of quantities we're talking about every month. And just by way of comparison, the Monclova Township trustees, two trustees, as I understand it, are responsible for signing every check for every payment that goes out. The township, they have a couple people sign it. I mean, trustees sign it. So they're fully aware of, where the money's going, and I think this is the intent of this item, is that council can stay abreast of what's going on, and it strikes me as it's a finance operation. If the city is in, and being encumbered, I don't know if that's the right legal word, but making a financial commitment to pay somebody, whether we've actually written the check or not, it seems like finance should definitely know about that, and that would be the relevant person to report that on a monthly basis, I think is reasonable.
I mean, I could issue a statement of all the payments we issue every month. I mean, that wouldn't be,
Is that going to be on the open.gov or whatever that we're doing?
they will
or-
be, yes. Mhm. Yeah.
So if it's going to be out there,
Thank you,
is it
Phil.
necessary to repeat it somewhere to council, or?
Policies and procedures are changed when something happens, and something happened. Something happened, why I prompted that sentence in there.
Well, and what I was hearing is that it wasn't, if contracts aren't gotten to you, then you can't put it on OpenGov? Is that what you're?
Well, I guess my concern would be, what is the auditor going to do if it didn't get reported for some reason that it got missed? Is the auditor going to say, oh,
Go ahead, Phil. He knows the answer to that question. No.
In private practice, private, industry, if you get audited, you have a procedure, you say you do something, you get audited, you didn't do it, you get a nonconformance. Now, the question becomes, was it malfeasance? Was it, we didn't do it that month, whatever, then it'll point to what's wrong with your process. Why didn't it get reported? And when you have processes that rely just on people doing something and not having things, fully documented, right kind of training that goes on. Josh was in the military. They must have tons of that kind of stuff, because if something is not done properly, lives are at stake. So I'm not saying lives are at stake with this, but a fear of somebody not doing what they should do would not be a reason to say, no, we need to adopt this process. This would be good for us. Now we just have to work as management to make sure that process is followed.
So now seeing how it is, it's 2:39, and I'm trying to be mindful. We've got people that pick up kids from school. So what I guess I'm proposing is we're going to get together again to talk about the payroll item. So we've gotten through a chunk of 103. I'm going to suggest Alan, could you please make the changes that have been noted in that?
Right.
And then we can circle back at this page through the rest of the document and talk about this more at our next finance meeting. Would that be okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I just
Do-
want to point out too that section F about the change orders in particular, Matt Griggs, Matt Miles, and the mayor and myself, we met to determine those parameters.
Okay. So something to think about when we look at those for
That's
the
fine, 'cause
next.
I had the old copy anyway, so this is new.
Okay. I don't. Okay. So seeing that, we will circle back to this at their next finance committee meeting, which we'll make it a point to do and say the next month.
Next month.
That we talked about. So we can, Casey, could you please get schedules kind of figured out? Thank you for our next meeting. And then we'll plan on for that meeting, at the very least, you know, I'm sure there might be other things added, but we'll come back to the 2020, the payroll item, the 27 pays, and Chapter 103 and continue that conversation. But we will be reviewing the 103 as adjusted by the law director with the items we already talked about today. So Alan, would it be reasonable to get that sent to the finance committee like a week before our scheduled meeting? So we have,
Yeah, that would be an issue.
okay. So once you get the changes done, send it our way so we can start looking at those, and then we can be ready to discuss at the next meeting. Sound good? Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
thank you. Call the roll?
Barrow.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Poffenberger.
Yes. All right, thank you.